This Jeep, licensed by RedRock HD tire carrier, is perfect for the 2007 to 2018 JK owner out there who values durability and good looks. Designed to accommodate large wheels and tires, this is a reinforced heavy-duty swing-out tire carrier that will provide your Jeep with plenty of strength and flexibility, with a cool aesthetic thrown in for good measure. A tire carrier may not sound like the most exciting modification, but for those of you who have larger wheels and tires installed on your JK, the OEM one that bolts to your factory tailgate may not be enough. This one is designed to carry the extra weight of large wheels and tires, and instead of bolting to the center of the tailgate where it could potentially bend or break your OEM tailgate, this is going to bolt to the much stronger hinge mounting points. And it's going to distribute the weight more evenly and reduces stress on the tailgate itself. So that makes this a separate swing out unit, but it is designed to work with your OEM tailgate and hinges, and the kit includes a blank plate for the original mounting points on the tailgate itself, and this is where this is going to lock in as well. And of course, it provides a more rugged appearance for the back end of your JK too. With the tubular design and the little Jeep logo down on the bottom, it's a more subtle setup than some other options, but the industrial style here looks cool on any Jeep. As we've already discussed, this definitely lives up to the heavy-duty part of its name. The tubular and plate steel construction means that it is solid and strong, and it's finished off with RedRock's signature two-stage powder coating. First layer is an epoxy pre-coat, which is then followed by this textured black powder coat that you see here, and that's going to provide you plenty of protection against rust and corrosion. The frame is fully welded, and all the additional bits are made of the same type of stainless steel and finished in that same powder coating too. Plus, all the hardware you need is included, and this is officially licensed by Jeep, so you can be sure that it's going to fit right the first time. Pricing comes in at about $400, and that makes this a pretty affordable option as well. Now, having the peace of mind that you can safely transport your larger spare tire to parts unknown without having to worry about it damaging your tailgate is more than worth the purchase price in my book, and it's made better by the fact that this makes your Jeep look a little bit cooler in the process. Installation gets a 1 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you around 2 hours to complete. There is a bit of assembly that is required with this. However, again, everything is included in the kit, and it's designed to bolt right into place. So you don't need to make any permanent modifications or drill anything on your Jeep, and that makes this a pretty easy job for you to tackle at home. We're going to walk you through the entire process step by step right now, so for that, let's head on out to the shop.
Tools required for this install include an impact gun, a ratchet, 10, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 22 millimeter wrenches, 17 millimeter ratcheting wrench, a rubber mallet, T50 torque socket, 10, 13, shallow 17, 18, and 19 millimeter sockets, 22 millimeter swivel socket, a tape measure, and a plastic pry tool. What's up guys? Today we're installing a spare tire carrier on our Wrangler, so let's get started. First thing we need to do is remove our spare tire. Now we have aftermarket lug nuts on ours, so I'm using a spline key, but use the appropriate size socket for the lug nuts you have on there. Next we're going to need to pop our tailgate open. We're going to be removing this plastic panel. So take a plastic pry tool to get back behind your clips. And then that's going to reveal our connector here for our third brake light. You're going to push in on that tab and separate it. And then we'll hop over to the other side. Now we're going to pull our grommet out to pull our wire through, and then we're going to remove the 8 bolt holding in our spare tire carrier. Pop that out, and then grab a 13 millimeter socket and remove all the bolts. I'm going to start at the bottom so that I have 2 holding the top at the end so it's easier to get off. Next, we're going to remove our 2 spare tire bumpers. We're just going to pull back on these to give them a little twist, and they should pop right out. Now we're going to remove the plastic covers on our hinges. This long one, you've got 2 clips back here, and then it hooks around the end back here. So get a plastic pry tool in there, pop out your clips, slide it forward. And then the back, you're going to have to pick up these 2 sides and slide it backwards. And then do the same thing for the bottom one. Next, we're gonna need to remove our hinges so that we can install the components behind them that we need to. Now, I'm gonna do this one at a time. That way we don't really have to mess with our door alignment. We'll take this hinge off. We'll have this one still holding it in place. I've got it latched on the other side. We'll do this one, we'll tighten it all down, and then we can repeat the same thing for the bottom one. So I'm gonna start by removing these two 13mm bolts. Take a 13mm socket. And then we're gonna switch over to a T50 Torx socket. We can open this hinge, and that'll give us access to these two inner bolts. So now we're gonna install our hinges with our new brackets. This one's gonna be going on the outside here. We're gonna be reusing our factory hardware for the whole hinge. So I'm gonna take my hinge, slide it in there, take my factory bolt, start threading that in. You can take that T50 Torx socket to help you thread it. I'm just gonna fold my hinge in a little bit to get that last one. And straighten out your hinge. I'm gonna line up these bolt holes, and then I'm gonna tighten the one bolt that I have access to. That's gonna hold everything in place nice and straight, and then I can open this hinge to get my last two bolts. So now my bolt holes are lined up, so I'm gonna tighten this first one. Swing it open, get your next two. Then behind this hinge, we do have a spacer. There's a shorter and a longer side. The longer side's going towards the middle. So I'm gonna put my bolt through the hinge, put that through here. Same thing on the other side. And then I'll close that up and start threading it in. Then take your 13mm socket to tighten these two bolts down. Now, once you have that done for one of your hinges and it's nice and tight, you can repeat that whole process for your bottom hinge. Next, we need to remove the vent in the middle of our tailgate so that we can install our plate here. So we're just gonna pull back on the top, get in there with a plastic pry tool. Pop that out. And now we're just gonna pop out this one last grommet. Pop that out. And then we're gonna be installing our plate. We're reusing all of the 13mm bolts from our factory spare tire carrier. Now, before I tighten this down, I'm gonna slide this up so that the bolts are pretty centered in that slot, so we have this as centered as possible. So get that centered up and then grab your 13mm socket and tighten it down. Next, we're going to install our tire carrier retainer. So this is going to go right here. And then we're going to take an M6 bolt with a flat washer, put that through, and then get a second flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut on the other side. Then we're going to take a 10mm socket and wrench and tighten this down. Next, we need to get these bushings pressed into our spare tire carrier. Now, I've got a rubber mallet. I'm just going to be tapping these in. So I'm going to get it lined up top, and then just give it a few taps until it bottoms out. And then we're just going to do that 3 more times. we're gonna slide this into our mount and use our M14 bolt with a flat washer going down through the top. Then we're gonna do the same thing on the bottom. And then we have a flat washer and a nut going on the bottom of those bolts. Now I'm going to take a 22mm swivel socket and wrench to tighten down those bolts. The next thing we're going to be installing is our heim joint. Now this has a thread so you can shorten or extend it. That's going to be connecting between here and here. Now I'm going to get the one side in, get my bolt in place, and then I'm going to close this up. I'm going to try to put my bolt through the other one. If it goes through, then we're good on our adjustment. If not, then we'll pull the door back, adjust it a few turns, put it back in until it works. So now I'm going to slide that into place, take an M10 bolt with a flat washer and put it through the top. And then I've got another flat washer and a lock nut on the bottom. And then I'm going to close my door so that the tube goes into the stopper. And I'm going to slide that joint in, see if it lines up, which it does, so we don't have to make any adjustments. Now, if we want this to stay in that stopper there when we open the door, we can shorten it a little bit. So I'm just going to twist this end to the right, make it a little bit shorter. Put my bolt through. Now that's nice and tight. So I'm going to put my washer and my nut on the bottom here. Now I'm going to take a 17mm socket and a 16mm wrench to tighten our inner joint. I should mention I opened the door because this gets a little farther from the tailgate when it's open, so we have more room to tighten. Now on this side, we don't have as much room. So I'm holding the bolt with a 16mm wrench and I'm using a 17mm ratcheting wrench on the nut. So now we need to put on this kind of hitch receiver part. This is going to go right in the middle here. You have a bunch of holes to choose from, so you are going to have to measure your spare tire to figure out which holes to use. Now it's going to make a lot more sense explaining it once I have this bolted up, so I'm going to get this installed and then we're going to go over the measurement. Now for my top hole here, I'm going to be using the second hole down from the top. So I've got a bolt with a flat washer that's going to be going from the outside in, and then on the inside back here we'll get another flat washer, lock washer, and a nut. I'll get your flat washer, lock washer, and nut on each of those studs. Now the ones on the bottom are going to be the exact same. It's just going to be really hard to get a camera angle on down here. And now I'm going to take an 18mm socket and wrench and tighten these down. Next we're going to slide in our mounting plate. And then we have our long bolts with flat washers that are going to go through one side. And then we have a flat washer and a lock nut going on the other. And now you can adjust this to come out or in as much as you need. We do have this cut out in the bumper down here, so that's going to be one of the things you're going to use to measure this. If you have a higher offset wheel, you can slide it out or in depending on where you need it. I'm going to put it right in the middle here for our purposes. Now take an 18mm socket and 19mm wrench to tighten those bolts down. Now at the bottom, we have a short bolt that we're gonna thread into this nut. And then take an 18mm socket and tighten that down. So now I'm gonna show you how you go about measuring that to figure out how high or low to mount that receiver. Now from our top 2 studs, I'm gonna measure from there to the bumper cutout for the spare tire. And we've got about 20 inches there. So now we have kind of a universal lug pattern here, but these 2 are the holes that are going to be going on those 2 studs. So I'm going to measure from the center of those holes down to the bottom of our tread. And we've got about 18.5 inches. So I left about 1.5 inches of space down here just so that we're not right up on it. So that's how you're going to make your measurement. I would recommend at least 1 inch of a gap there, and then you can set this accordingly. Now we've got 3 lug nuts included in our kit to go on these studs. So I'm going to throw them in a 19mm socket so I can get deeper in there. I'm going to thread those on. Now take that 19mm socket and tighten down your lug nuts. And now we just need to pop open our tailgate and put that plastic panel back. Now you usually have 3 clips here that are going to hook around this side, so you would go in at an angle like that. All of ours are broken, so we're just going to push these 2 clips into place. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Jeep licensed by RedRock HD tire carrier for OEM tailgate with Jeep logo for your 2007 to 18 Jeep Wrangler J-Co. Thank you for watching, and for all things Wrangler, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.